Start reading it. This is the Tuesday, October 30th meeting of the Raleigh Conservation Commission. The meeting is hereby called to order under authority of Mass General Law 131, Section 40, Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Stormwater Management and Erosion Control Bylaw. Notice is given that both a video and audio recording will be made of this meeting. The agent will now call the roll for attendance.
Arthur Page.
Yep.
Kurt Turner.
Here.
Bob Garner.
Here.
Judy Keys. I think we saw her. We'll wait for her to come in. Dan Shinnick is absent. Sam Strife.
Here.
Howard Vogel is absent. And I hear the door opening, and we'll anticipate Commissioner Keys' arrival shortly. How's that? So we have a quorum present, Mr. Chairman.
Here's Judy. Let me just read that.
Yes.
Okay. This is the 7:30 item. It's a continuation notice of intent, application DEP 63-0669 at land off Weathersfield Street, map 11, parcel 58 and 599, 607, 615, 623 Weathersfield Street. Map 11, parcel lot 53, 58-1, 58-2, 58-2A, Rowley Solar LLC, owner Marvin Revocable Trust, to discuss proposed land gift and waiver of the remaining wetlands bylaw fee. So why don't we start? I was gonna start with you. You went out there the other day to the land.
Well, I had been out there previously with Bob Blanchett, professional engineer from Camet Engineering. So yes, we had reviewed the parcel, and initially the first revision of the plan, which included some acreage that was in the town of Georgetown. Since then, the proposal for the gifting of the land has been slightly revised, and so that plan is right here, as well as on the table in front of the commissioners, with a proportion of the parcel which is bordering vegetated wetlands, which is roughly equivalent to 2.1 acres. And we have upland and 100-foot buffer zone to said wetlands of 5.5 acres. Recommendation, I have distributed, there's a memo underneath your agenda which has a condition that was previously utilized in an application where the applicant was also gifting land to the town under the care and custody of the commission. The recommendation here, if that language in the condition is acceptable, is for the commission to also consider setting a timeline, an anticipated time for which the review, conveyance, said documentation to accompany this would need to be consummated. And since the boundaries of the parcel have been adjusted, I have a further recommendation to specifically have monumentation installed in the field at the corners of the property, as well as I requested when Mr. Blanchett came in this morning. I also thought it would be applicable to have the stone walls out there indicated. There's no symbology right at the moment, and a couple of those boundary lines are actually marked by stone walls. So the consideration would be for drill holes, iron rods, or whatever appropriate monumentation at the corners of the parcel so that it could be easily discerned in the field if the commission so decides to consider it acceptance. I don't know if you want me to read that condition, the proposed condition, or not.
Well, I don't care to.
Does the applicant have a copy?
Yeah. Yes, we do. Thank you, Mr. Turner.
So what did you do? You just took the land in Georgetown out of the gifting?
Yes, Tom Beatrice for the applicant. We did, which is this parcel, and then we moved the line down
Yep.
further. It was up here originally,
Right.
which includes a little bit more wetlands and a little less upland.
Yeah.
But we moved the Georgetown parcel that would have required a town meeting vote, approval by the selectmen, and we thought that might not be conducive in terms of time.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think of that. Right.
There's one other step that would be involved here that we just learned of today. Creation of any parcel involves an approval not required plan to be submitted to the planning board, appropriately marked as not buildable, I believe, is a requirement.
Correct.
As well as also prepared to specifications for recordation. We understand that there would have to be an A&R plan prepared for the portion of the lot that is remaining that would be in Georgetown for the Georgetown Planning Board to approve that as an A&R plan. That's just part of, apparently that's a requirement when you have a lot that has the dual municipality presence, I guess.
It's incident to the A&R process. It's actually not an A&R plan per se, but it is approvable by the planning board if it's delineated as unbuildable and non-buildable.
Okay.
And we will have to, at the same time, appear around the same time frame at both Georgetown and Raleigh planning boards. So in terms of the time, my only question for the commission is, assuming the commission is agreeable to the land grant, my concern is just time, because we will have to get selectmen's approval, we will have to get two planning boards' approval. So what I don't want to do is hold up the actual issuance of the order of conditions. And that process that we have to go to subsequent, if the commission is agreeable, I'd like to see a 90-day window, and hopefully we can get it done within that time frame.
That's what I was going to roughly say, that probably 2 or 3 months.
But I wouldn't want to have to come back and ask
Right.
for an extension.
Yeah.
But we will not drag our feet, I promise you.
Okay. Now, Brent, I think you were the only one that spoke with everybody as far as the rest of the commission. Was anybody questioning this at all on the commission? Yeah. Okay. No other questions that were brought up during that?
No, I mean, again, the only initial concern was being able to access the property, and with Greenbelt being a nonprofit land trust organization, that the town of Raleigh has a number of relationships, as well as the fact that we're about to try and consummate them holding conservation restriction on the Dodge Reservation, one of our largest open space parcels. We have a very good working relationship with them, and so there isn't any impediment to us being able to go out to that property when we so desire, and there's always the possibility in the future of a mutually agreeable effort to establish a trail going out there. But again, that's not. It was only a question of just being able to get there.
Okay.
if we so desired, and there is no impediment to that.
All right, well, I
I'd
don't
just like to say that I appreciate the applicant's addition of the additional acreage and the dropping out of the Georgetown thing. I think another potential complication with regard to the Georgetown thing would have been that if a trail had been extended and we theoretically was within our jurisdiction, that might have created some additional administrative matters with regard to the town of Georgetown putting a trail in there as well. So anyway, strikes me as this is something that's satisfactory to all parties.
Appreciate that.
Anybody? Anybody from the audience have anything to say about this?
Cheering?
All right, what should we give for a motion on this? Is it, does
Okay,
it have to go in
so-
front of us again, or no?
Oh, gosh, no. But throughout the process, as Attorney Beatrice mentioned, you'll have to go to the selectmen to see their,
Planning board and selectmen.
well, the planning board for the plan that's going to end up being the document both recorded that creates the parcel as well as documentation that the commission requires to have with mets and bounds and an accurate description of the property so it's capable of being appropriately defended, as well as placed and positioned and verified once you take ownership of it. Where was I going with this? So the commission would possibly consider a motion to accept this gift of land and waive the $43,000 remaining balance of the Town of Raleigh's Wetlands bylaw fee for the project, and direct me to issue the order of conditions, which has been held in abeyance while this, and incorporate, if that condition is acceptable, with the addition of setting
Right.
a 90-day or 3-month time period for which the various steps to be taken. It involves obviously the participation of town council, the drafting of a deed that then is that both councils find acceptable, which I think is expressed in that
Yes.
proposed conditions.
I'd just like to add, with an understanding that if the gift does not take place in any reasonable time period, that the fee would then be payable.
Yes.
Right. Do I hear such a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good move. I wish it was a year ago.
You?
I know.
And thank you for
Yes.
convening this evening. It's well appreciated.
Well, there's no baseball games.
Yeah, well, that was
Lucky for us.
that was
We wouldn't have asked.
Not even during the baseball game.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you.
I believe I already have.
Yeah, I'll stop down tomorrow anyway.
Yeah, but
just to
I
make sure
believe I've already got the
everything you need.
signature page. Let me just check. That was a good. Well, I've got you all here. Yeah, and I hadn't
Okay.
filled the date in on this, so I can just put the date in, and just my introductory paragraph is going to be a little longer than it normally is to reflect all of this. Thank you very much.
And that brings us to Mr. John Sullivan. We have a conservation restriction at 42 Newbury Road, map 5, parcel lot 40, John E. Sullivan Jr. and Christine Mason. It's a municipal certification, which we've been working on.
Yes, the request is, well, and this is part of the CR application form put together by the state. It is not a mandatory component. And since the commission has already accepted and authorized and signed the conservation restriction, I simply took out the qualities which I will read here to read into the record. So this is then the request is for the commission to sign this document providing certification that this property has qualities that are deserving of it being protected by the implementation of a conservation restriction on it. Mm-hmm. So we, the undersigned Conservation Commission of the Town of Raleigh, the certifier/holder, hereby certify that the proposed conservation restriction is in the public interest in that it, and then they say describe public benefits. Open space preservation. The premises contributes to the protection of the scenic and natural character of Raleigh, and the protection of the premises will enhance the open space value of these and nearby lands. Protection of wildlife habitat. The entire premises falls within an area designated as priority habitats of rare species by the Massachusetts Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program, and the majority of the premises falls within an area classified as core habitat by Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program under Biomap 2. Biomap 2 is also designed to include habitats and species of conservation concern identified in the State Wildlife Action Plan. The premises also contains approximately 5.69 acres of wooded wetlands. And finally, public trails. Public access trails for passive recreation, education, and nature study. The location of the trails on the premises are shown on the plan entitled Plan of Land in Raleigh, Mass., prepared by Williams and Sparagus Engineers /planners/surveyors. Scale 1 inch equals 80 feet. Date June 12, 2008. And the request is if the commission would so move to sign and certify through this document, which can be included in the CR application sent to the state.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for this?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Right.
John, is your project almost all done?
It's getting there. We just
I gotta go over there one of these days to take a look.
one's 95% done, the other one's about 85% done, and we might have the other one sold tomorrow. So we just got to spread some room and get some hydro seed down this week or next week, and more than half, 3/4 will be done, except for my little spot. So we're getting there now.
Wow, good.
Looks pretty good.
Look a lot different now, huh?
A lot different.
Yeah.
Be nice in the spring when I can finish all my landscaping.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's not the best time to landscape.
No.
Okay.
Come by tomorrow, I'll have this ready for you to pick up if that's convenient for you.
Yeah, next couple of days I'll do that.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Very good.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Yep.
John.
Thanks, John.
And John, just to let you know, I believe I haven't prepared the selectmen's agenda yet, but I believe I'm going to be on at their next meeting, which is, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, November 5th, I think.
Okay.
When they issue their agenda, which is usually completed by Thursday afternoon, I'll know for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, now this is, the next item is just a 61A coming up.
Yes. request for conversion of a portion.
I apologize for misreading this. Misreading the documents. Here it is. Bruce Tompkins put a chart together that showed a line going through this pond that I misinterpreted as being in the Mill River. No, not here, but.
Yeah, so I'm displaying, and I highlighted this, I wasn't obviously able to highlight what the applicant had previously provided when we were requested to issue a permit for the construction of the single-family residence on the property. Let me see if I can get that. Yeah, and I'm not sure. That's apparently some kind of topo line. I'm displaying what came accompanied with the letter on this. So I think that's a contour line. It might be 44. It's kind of hard to say because the quality of the reproduction wasn't well. There was a little confusion going on in a number of different places. Normally, we receive the communications directly because the Chapter 61 statute, I believe, for a conversion requires the selectmen, the planning board, and the ConCom to be notified. Well, the selectmen were notified, and then the selectmen copied the planning board and the ConCom. So at first I was kind of like, well, okay, I'm not sure why I got this from the selectmen, and so I was waiting for it to actually come in directly from Mr. Tompkins. It didn't, and then I got an inquiry from the selectman's office saying, oh, by the way, we haven't seen a memo from you, have you folks, discussed this yet? So I added it to tonight's agenda, not trying to,
No, I agree.
not trying to bypass anything, but like, okay, I guess we're having the meeting tonight. You folks are all making the effort to come out here. Why don't we deal with a couple of things instead of...
Right. I've read your thing and I agree with you 100%. I don't know about anybody else.
When the piece of property is taken out of Chapter 61, how much time does the town just have to decide as to whether or not it wants to acquire it?
I haven't had an opportunity to...
I think it's 60 days, but it's a tight time frame such that if the town did want to do this, by the time you do your fundraising and you negotiate the possible price for the property owner, why it gets really dicey on all of that, which
Well, and it's never enough time to actually apply for a grant and get a grant to help with the acquisition, so yes.
I mean, we pulled these off in the past with regard to some pretty big things, but going back in time, but it is time critical.
All right, so we're just gonna, are you going to send a letter?
Well,
stating
so
that-
if I would suggest a motion directing your agent, myself, to communicate to the Board of Selectmen that in the opinion of the Commission, there isn't, the Commission doesn't see a reason to pursue acquisition of this small portion.
It would probably be
larger
worth a lot
lot.
more than we would want to pay, to tell you the truth.
Well, he listed a price in his letter. I think it was $175,000. So you're right, basically. Well, and basically due to the fact that there really is a lack of sensitive environmental wetland resource areas located on this parcel, because we're not even down by the riverine corridor for that
Right.
for that prime wildlife habitat. So not that it isn't a nice piece of land, but it probably is more suited, since there's a residential lot right next to it. It isn't out of character for it to be developed as a house lot.
All right, do I hear a motion to have our agent contact the selectmen in regards to the turning down of this property?
Well, yeah, just saying we don't advocate for exercising.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Since we're talking about stuff, is the water going down at all on Weathersfield Street? Have they done anything?
I don't know. I've got to check.
What's that mean?
I've got to check in with
Oh,
her. But I went by there today and no, I didn't see any discernible difference in the
The
level of
vehicle
water
water.
over Mr. Herrick's farm road.
Oh, up there.
Yeah. It's actually into that lady's bridge, which.
Yeah, Deborah Rossi, she's got,
Could
the
have some
dam is underneath her.
because it's up
bridge now.
into the bridge
The
work.
back of the brook has come up to its bank and it's gone over it a little bit, but not an awful lot. It's compared with historical stuff earlier in the year, for that matter.
Was there anything else that anybody wanted to talk to tonight in regards to conservation?
And just an announcement that we're trying to put together a fall trail work day over at Brad Street Farm. That'd be for November 10th, which is a Saturday. We've scheduled it for the afternoon hours so that we heard from a number of families that they lots of times have recreational things, sports or whatever with their children, and that the afternoon might be more. They have a clearer schedule to possibly be able to participate. So we're going to try and create a trail over there, help the community garden folks out a little bit, clear some of that up where it's been getting overgrown, and if we have enough people, not only try to put a new trail in going down to the back, but also refresh trails that were previously put in by some scouts for a service project that exists in the woods off the lower portions of those fields that have been being farmed.
I think that's very nice, and I certainly commend you for all of your efforts in this regard and your leadership role in not only this, but the Dodge Reservation and other places around town that you keep tabs on. Do have a question. Who pays for the refreshments that you mentioned in your...
Well, the Open Space Committee is, the committee members are either baking some stuff or donating.
That's what how it is.
Well, I don't know why we can't use our,
He's baking.
some minor funds to help defray the cost of these things. I mean, this isn't the only time this has been done. And you shouldn't have to bear the burden, and the Open Space Committee shouldn't necessarily. I mean, we ought to be able to come up with $50 or something for refreshments for these things.
Oh, again, you certainly can.
I mean, we've got money.
They
a fund that we can do that, right?
They offered as part of the planning things.
They don't have a budget, do they?
No, they do not.
I mean, that's fine. Baked goods
It's
are always better than store-bought stuff.
And to be quite honest with you, you do facilitate us somewhat because you buy me supplies that I use, like the
Now, let me just ask,
flagging for marking the trails and,
approximately how much free cash would there be, would you need for a couple of these, which you have several a year, for refreshments? $100?
probably not even that. I mean, well,
Can always revote.
I don't.
Well, no, seriously.
No, well,
Do they
that
have a
would
check?
probably be the upper limit. I would say based on the amount of baked goods and stuff that have been brought to some of the other events. I would surmise that we probably, if we had to buy everything, that we're probably spending about $30 to $40 maybe. There usually isn't. We usually have a lot more. People usually donate a lot more stuff than
Well,
actually
we had
gets
a bunch of
consumed.
these for the Trail Association, and we'd have the volunteer days. We'd go down and get a couple of boxes of Joe and
Yeah, a couple dozen
I
donuts
don't
or whatever,
know.
but like I said, I mean, there's a couple of the Open Space Committee members that just say, okay, and I believe they bake some brownies or some
So if they were going to do this, do they have a checking account? They have an account at all? They don't have it?
No, because they're
Well,
not.
could they? Probably.
No, we're the financial entity for
Okay.
the open space committee, so to speak.
Could we
We've got an expense account, there's no reason
announce to
why
them
we
that
can't.
if they would need, if they were in need of ice or tonic or water
Yeah.
or whatever, that we would gladly
Yep,
chip in a reasonable amount? Okay.
yep.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Aye.